Hey folks, it's Josh KERIEVSKY from Industrial Logic. So I want to tell you a quick story about the early days of what we today call behavior-driven development or acceptance test-driven development. Back in the early 2000s, I was working with a team. It was a startup in San Francisco. We were basically doing a lot of test-driven development back then. And the idea was, also you should be automating acceptance tests. The problem was we would get behind on automating acceptance tests. Why? Well, it relied on the customer. The customer was in the room, but the customer needed to work with us to produce these automated tests, and they'd get too busy. As a result, defects were slipping through. Even though we were doing test-driven development mercilessly, we were getting defects. So I started wondering, well, how could we fix this problem? And then I said, well, why don't we do the same thing we do in test-driven development at the feature level? So meaning, let's create a failing test of some sort, a failing acceptance test. I started to call it a story test because it's associated with a user story. Eventually I started calling this story test driven development. I didn't know what it was, but it was basically a way to start development by failing a story test / acceptance test. What happened with this? I eventually found that it was really useful, and I was so high on the practice that we were using it everywhere. Sometimes you overuse something for a while, and I was overusing story test driven development. We started to realize there's a cost to doing all that work. So fast forward to today. Today, BDD is very, very popular, behavior driven development, also acceptance test driven development. You could argue they're the same, you could argue they're different, whatever. The point is, if you are practicing those particular skills, be careful, don't overuse them. They're very valuable practices, and they need to fit in your specific situation, okay? That's the story. Hopefully it's helpful.